In this town, there's no off-season. The news never stops, and neither do we. It's always game day in Cleveland with Andy Baskin and Daryl Ryder.
Browns lose 35-10. Thanks for watching the post-game show here for Daryl and I. We are brought to you by our friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, I don't know, 35-10. I'm not surprised about the outcome of this game.
Yeah, and the Ravens covered. It was a 20-point spread.
I knew you were going there. I knew it.
And the Ravens covered. The Browns understood the assignment. Bailey Zappi understood the assignment. The offense understood the assignment. The special teams understood the assignment. They come home with loss number 14. An historically awful season comes to a close. Golf claps, contract extensions for everybody on a job well done.
So, Daryl, as we sit, this is on Saturday night, the Browns have the number one pick in the draft. As of this second, they have the number one pick in the draft. Now, will New England,
Patriots,
Tennessee,
go Titans.
Yeah, that's what we need. New England and Tennessee to go win. Go win a game for us, baby. Go win.
Titans against the Texans, Patriots against the Bills.
Daryl, can you sum up the season in just a few kind eulogy words?
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here to pay tribute to one of the worst Cleveland Browns seasons since the team has come back. While everything feels utterly hopeless at this point, I'm here to assure you it is. And so with the Browns finishing 3-14 on the season, it is the third worst record-wise loss accumulation in a single season since the franchise has returned, only surpassed by the 2016 1-15 Browns and the 2017 0-16 Browns. Of course, the 1999 expansion team finished 2-14. So a job well done. The point differential this year for the Cleveland Browns was 1 point better than the winless 2017 Browns. So again, a job well done by this team as they finish in last place for the 17th time since 1999. The second most last place finishers in the National Football League over that span, the Washington Commanders with 11. The Browns are the NFL worst from a record standpoint since 1999, 141, 278, and 1. And under the Haslam Sports Group stewardship, they are 72, 132, and 1. So another season is laid to rest. We are 26 years into waiting for professional football to return to Cleveland, and a consistent winner can't get it. It keeps getting promised to us by every regime that comes in. Barry and Stefanski failed to do it. But, hey, you know what? They're the most successful regime. They're the longest tenured regime. And they're also 4 games under 500 at 40-44.
Should there be major changes in this organization?
Should there be in a normal world, Andy? Absolutely. I would fire the coach. I would fire the GM. But we don't live in normal times. And you have a multi-pronged approach or reasoning as to why there will not be changes. One, who wants these jobs? Who wants to come to Cleveland and deal with them?
There's only 32 of them.
I realize that. But who wants the jobs that are going to be better than what you already have? And the answer right now is probably nobody. So it makes sense to give both Barry and Stefanski the opportunity to try and clean this mess up in 2025. Andrew Barry is going to have a top 3 draft pick no matter what happens on Sunday with the results of the Patriots and the Titan game there. But the bottom line is that they grossly underachieved this year. This was a team that many, myself included, thought should make the playoffs this year. And again, we're talking historically bad, Andy. They're only the third team to lose 5 games in a row or more multiple times in a single season. Like, They finished the season with a 6-game losing streak. They had a 5-game losing streak earlier in the season. So this is historically bad, the product that the Browns put on the field. Another year in which they raised season ticket prices for fans. They're probably going to keep raising prices. They're going to want fans potentially to buy PSLs in the new dome. And the tickets, are going to be more expensive there. Parking there is going to be more expensive. And for what? So at least you can be under a roof and comfortable watching this franchise lose games. Like that's where we're at. Like, I have zero faith in Andrew Berry. I have zero faith that Kevin Stefanski is going to be able to get a quarterback and perform another miracle. I think Stefanski's out of miracles, and he should be. He performed miracle with Jacoby Brissett, and they went 4-7 before Watson's suspension was up. I thought he did a nice job with Baker Mayfield. They made the playoffs, won 11 games that year. But for whatever reason, they couldn't get Baker to mature, and the organization just, wasn't mature enough to make that happen. And then, Joe Flacco came out of nowhere. Last year was a little bit of a fluke. They got a bunch of stuff to bounce their way. They won 11 games, made the playoffs, got blown out. But I just don't have a lot of faith in this regime to get it right. I don't trust Andrew Berry to pick the next quarterback. And so, I'd love to sit here and tell Browns fans, hey, this was really a mulligan, a one-off. But I really feel like the condition of the roster, the fact that it is an older, one of the more older rosters in the NFL, it is the most expensive roster in the NFL. I don't think that they need to burn it down, but there does need to be a significant renovation, if you will, to this roster. And then everything hinges, to me, upon Myles Garrett's decision to sign a contract extension this offseason. If he tells them, no, I want out of here, get me out of here, then I think you have to trade everybody and burn it down to the studs. But if he recommits to you, then yes, you do the
How does that happen? How does that happen? How do they convince Myles Garrett to want to extend while he's here?
I have no idea. Here's the plan that I just pulled out of thin air. Okay. I'm rooting for them to get the number 1 pick.
Okay.
So that they trade it.
Okay.
They flip it. They trade down this year. They get a 1 next year. You maybe get a 2nd-round pick in there and then some sweetener mid to late round picks on top of that, right? Because you would be trading the number 1 overall pick. That's kind of the compensation you should expect, right? At least 2 ones in return, a 2nd-round pick, and some sweetener picks, right?
Right.
So that's in my mind to get an extra draft pick, 1st-round pick for 2026. Because I have no expectation that this team is going to be very good in 2026. That looking at their opponents for next season, yeah, I'm thinking that they're probably going to win 5 or 6 games, right? So you're talking a late, a middle teens pick there that you're going to have next year, plus an additional 1st-round pick from whomever you trade this year with to give you ammunition to move up if there is a quarterback available in 2026 that you really want, whether it's Archie Manning or whoever, right? I'm just throwing his name out there just for fun, but let's say there's a go-get-him quarterback there, right? And if I have to, I'll give up my 1st-round pick in 2027 to facilitate that deal too, if that means going to get that franchise quarterback. That's what I sell Myles Garrett. Swallow 2025. It's going to be what it's going to be. But when you're 30 years old, going to 31, and into this 2nd contract, we're going to have our franchise quarterback that we will have drafted, and we're going to be ready to roll. That, I think, to me, is the plan that you can sell him, because you're not talking what his concern is, a 2, 3, 4-year rebuild. You're talking a 1 to 2 year rebuild. And I think that is, that's fair. Teams turn it around all the time. Look at the Minnesota Vikings under Kwesi and what's happened there, right?
Andrew Siciliano was throwing out a stat about every year that 4 new teams make it to the playoffs every year.
Not this year, though.
Yeah.
That comes to an end, I think, this year. I don't think they had 4 new teams this year.
I got to go back and look. They've had a string, at least 3 or 4 that make it every year, new teams.
But yeah, I mean, you have these worst to first situations, right? The Browns never finished first. They haven't won a division since 1989. They finished in last place 17 times, as I mentioned earlier in the podcast. You've got the Ravens, who've won the division 8 times. Look, I think we also need to take a moment here, Andy, and give the defense a little credit.
Oh, I agree.
They played their hearts out. I know they lost 35-10. They played their hearts out for 3 quarters. The offense just was completely inept. Bailey Zappi did exactly what I thought Bailey Zappi was going to do.
I actually thought he made a decent case to be a number 3 quarterback on somebody's team.
Yeah, I don't want to see DTR in a Browns uniform ever again. Like that guy just isn't a serious NFL quarterback. He's a real nice kid. He needs to go do something else with his life. He's not an NFL caliber quarterback, and that showed. So I mean that's just kind of like where we're at, right? I mean, they're going to clean out the lockers on Sunday. We'll hear from Kevin Stefanski on Sunday. Andrew Berry will come along Monday or Tuesday in the morning next week, probably around 11 o'clock or noon or so, and we'll hear from him. And then we'll take a couple of weeks off and forget this team exists for a little bit, so that everybody can just chill out, relax, enjoy playoff football and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to tell you that there's a lot of hope right now, but I don't have it. I really don't. I'm not impressed with the job that Andrew Berry has done. He's had 5 years to build a consistent winner here. He had a solid foundation to work with, and he blew it. He absolutely blew it. And what I'd like to see happen is, instead of having him be the executive vice president of football operations GM, promote him to president of football operations, and then go hire a legit football GM. Somebody that can tell if guys know how to read a playbook, somebody that can tell if guys give a crap about winning and playing at their best at all times, somebody who will pay attention to red flags and not bring those people into the organization anymore. It's something that I wrote in my post-game Brownie Bites, Andy. You can't fix broken people. And when you're a multi-billion-dollar business like the National Football League is, and I feel like the Browns need to stop trying to fix people. I'm all for giving people second chances, but enough's enough. Okay, Andrew Berry keeps bringing these guys in with either problems off the field or problems behind the scenes, and none of them are paying out. Okay, and the biggest risk he took was Deshaun Watson. That ain't paying out either. And there is not a universe, Andy, where I think you can bring him back. You can't sell him to fans. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think you can sell Deshaun Watson to the locker room. I really don't. Starting with Myles Garrett, they better not tell Myles Garrett, oh, the plan is to rehab Deshaun Watson and have him come back and be the week 1 starter next year. If that's the case, I would bet a sizable chunk of money that I don't have. Myles Garrett's going to say, then get me the hell out of here. I'm dead serious. I know there are players within that locker room who have publicly supported Deshaun Watson and said very nice things about him, but privately, there's not a lot of faith there. And the first 7 weeks of the season are exactly why. He couldn't throw for 200 yards. And you got guys coming off benches and out of retirement to throw for 300 yards. And the guy you gave $46 million a year, who is, 4 years removed from sitting out, an 11-game suspension, shoulder surgery, and now Achilles surgery. And you're going to count on that guy to come in, or I should say come back in the 4th year of his mega contract and actually contribute something positive to this team? I don't think so. So they got to find a bridge quarterback this offseason. We're going to talk about it a lot in the as we go through the offseason and into the draft. Right now, I don't think there's a quarterback worth drafting in the top 5. I don't think that's a risk they should take. And it's just we'll see what Andrew Berry has to say as far as the litany of excuses. Shout out to ESPN for trying to carry some Browns water early in the broadcast by talking about all the injuries. But what ESPN failed to mention is all those injuries occurred basically after the team was 1-7 and the season was over.
And they end things on a 6-game losing streak, and that's how we'll end today's quick podcast, post-game podcast, because there isn't a whole lot to talk about when you lose 35-10 and only have 3 wins on the season. Evan O'Brien is our producer. He kills it every week. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Again, we are brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl will be back midweek after we hear what the voices have to say and after the lockers have been cleaned out. It's always game day in Cleveland.